Hello and welcome to Coffee English. Today, we will explore one of the most amazing stories in history. A story that will change how you think about problems and your English learning. Have you ever felt bad about your English? Have you ever thought that your accent or your mistakes are stopping you? Well, today I want to share something that might surprise you. This episode will help you understand why your English problems are not bad things. They are actually your biggest advantages. You will learn how to turn every challenge into a step toward better English. You will also discover why students who struggle often become the best speakers. We will talk about Ludwig van Beethoven. He was one of history's greatest music writers. When he lost his hearing, he made his most beautiful music. But this is not just about music. This is about you, your English, and the amazing power inside every problem. First point, when we lose something, we get something back. Scientists have found something interesting about the human brain. When we lose one ability, other abilities become stronger. This happens because our brain can change and adapt. When Beethoven started losing his hearing in his late 20s, something amazing happened in his mind. His brain began to focus more on the vibrations he could feel through his body. He would put his ear against the piano and feel the music through his bones. But here is the most important part. Problems force us to think differently. Without hearing, Beethoven's mind could focus completely on the structure and patterns of music. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a person who loses their sight. What happens? Their hearing becomes much better. They can hear sounds that seeing people never notice. Their fingers become more sensitive. They can read with their hands using special dots called Braille. The same thing happens with language learning. When you struggle with English, your brain works harder. It creates new pathways. It finds creative solutions. Research shows that when we have fewer resources, we become more creative. We find new solutions. We discover hidden strengths. This is exactly what happens when you learn English. Every time you cannot find the right word, your brain looks for other ways to say it. Maybe you use simple words to explain a complex idea. Maybe you use your hands to help communicate. Maybe you draw a picture. Every time you make a mistake, you create new connections in your brain. Your problems are actually making your brain stronger. Think about when you first started learning English. You probably translated everything from your native language. This was not wrong. It was your brain adapting. It was finding a bridge between what you knew and what you were learning. Now you probably think directly in English sometimes. This happened because your brain adapted to the challenge. Your limitation became your strength. Second point, the power of deep focus. Beethoven's deafness taught him something that hearing composers never learned. He learned to focus completely on the heart of music, not just its sounds. When you struggle with English pronunciation, you are developing something valuable. You notice sounds that native speakers never think about. You understand how language works in a way that comes naturally to very few people. Think about it. A native English speaker has never had to learn the difference between ship and sheep. But you have. This makes you more aware of language patterns than someone who learned English as a baby. Let me explain this with another example. A native speaker says, "I could have done it very quickly." They might even say, "I could have done it." They do not think about the grammar. They do not notice the sounds. But you learned that could have shows a past possibility. You learned that have after could is always in the perfect form. You understand the structure. You know why we say it this way. This deep understanding makes you better at explaining English to others. It makes you better at writing. It makes you more precise in your communication. Beethoven wrote his greatest works when he was completely deaf. The Ninth Symphony, his most famous piece, was created when he could not hear a single note. Why? Because he had moved beyond hearing music to understanding music. He could see the patterns on paper. He could feel the rhythm in his body. He could imagine how different instruments would sound together. His mind had become a perfect musical laboratory. Similarly, when you move beyond just copying native speakers to truly understanding English structure and rhythm, you develop deeper control of the language. You start to understand why we say, I am interested in, but I am excited about. You notice patterns that native speakers use without thinking. You become aware of the music of English. Third point, strong emotions through struggle. Here is something beautiful. Beethoven's music became more emotional and more powerful after he lost his hearing. His struggles gave his music a depth that technical skill alone could never create. Before he lost his hearing, Beethoven wrote beautiful music. But after he became deaf, he wrote music that touched the soul. His pain, his frustration, his determination, all of this went into his compositions. The famous Ode to Joy from his Ninth Symphony was written by a man who could not hear joy in the traditional sense, but he could feel it. He could express it. He could share it with the world. When you learn English through challenges, through mistakes, through frustration, you are not just learning words and grammar. You are developing emotional intelligence. You are learning to express complex feelings and connect with others across cultural barriers. Every time you search for the right English word to express a feeling from your native language, you are doing something that native speakers rarely do. You are thinking deeply about meaning and the exact emotional weight of words. For example, in your native language, you might have 3 different words for love. One for family love, one for romantic love, one for loving food. But in English, you must use context and additional words to show these differences. This forces you to think more carefully about what you really mean. It makes your communication more precise. It makes your English more thoughtful. When you finally find the perfect English phrase to express a complex emotion, the satisfaction is incredible. You have built a bridge between 2 worlds. You have found a way to share your heart across languages. This is why many English learners become excellent writers and speakers. They understand the power of language because they have fought for every word. They know that communication is not just about grammar rules. It is about human connection. Native speakers often take this for granted. They speak without thinking deeply about meaning. But you choose your words carefully. You understand their weight. You use language with intention. Fourth point, the strength of finding your own way. Beethoven invented new ways to experience music. He cut the legs off his piano so he could feel vibrations through the floor. He used a special stick connected to his piano that he could bite to feel the music through his head. He did not try to hear music the way other people did. He created his own method. He found his own path. This creativity came from necessity. Because he could not do things the normal way, he had to find new ways. And these new ways often turned out to be better than the old ways. The same thing happens with English learning. When you cannot learn the way native speakers learned, you find your own methods. You create your own systems. You develop your own techniques. Maybe you use colors to remember grammar rules. Maybe you create songs to remember vocabulary. Maybe you practice English by talking to yourself in the mirror. These methods might seem strange to others, but they work for you. This is the secret of successful English learners. They do not try to become perfect copies of native speakers. They find their own voice, their own style, their own way of expressing themselves in English. Your accent is not a problem to fix. It is your unique signature. When people hear you speak, they know you have an interesting story. They know you have worked hard to learn their language. They know you have something valuable to share. Your way of thinking in English, influenced by your native language, gives you perspectives that single language speakers will never have. You can make connections that others cannot see. You can express ideas in ways that are fresh and original. Many of the world's most influential English speakers were not native speakers. They brought something new to the language because they approached it differently. They added their own flavor to English. They made it richer. Think about famous writers who learned English as a second language. They did not try to write exactly like native speakers. They brought their own cultural perspective. They used their unique voice. And this made their writing more interesting, not less. The same is true for you. Your English does not need to sound exactly like a native speaker's English. It needs to sound like your English. It needs to carry your thoughts, your emotions, your unique perspective on the world. When you embrace this idea, something magical happens. You stop trying to hide your background. You start using it as a strength. You realize that your journey with English is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming a better version of yourself. In every episode, I love to share a useful phrase that can inspire your English journey. Today's phrase comes from Beethoven himself, and it is perfect for anyone facing challenges in language learning. Here is our phrase of the day: music should strike fire from the heart of man. Beethoven said this when people criticized his unusual music. He was telling us that true communication comes from the heart, not from perfect technique. When you speak English, do not worry about being perfect. Focus on speaking from your heart. Share your real thoughts, your genuine emotions, your authentic self. You can use this idea in your English practice. Instead of saying, "I am learning English," try, "I am expressing my heart through English." Instead of "I made a mistake," say, "I am finding my authentic voice." Remember, perfect technique without heart is just noise. Heart with imperfect technique is music. So let us remember the key lessons from Beethoven's incredible story. First, problems are not obstacles. They are opportunities for your brain to become stronger and more creative. Second, struggling with English gives you deeper awareness and understanding than those who learned it easily. Third, your challenges add emotional depth and authenticity to your communication. Fourth, do not try to become a perfect copy of someone else. Find your own unique voice in English. Your journey with English is not about fixing your problems. It is about transforming them into your greatest strengths. If this episode inspired you to see your English challenges in a new light, please give it a like and share it with other learners who might need this encouragement. Subscribe to Coffee English for more inspiring stories that will change how you think about language learning. And remember, every great English speaker was once exactly where you are now. Your struggles today are creating the symphony of your future fluency. Thank you for joining me today on Coffee English. Until next time, keep speaking from your heart through English. Take care and see you in the next episode.